can go ahead and go on the record then. As I told the jurors, I'd give them an update by 10. We're now going on almost 25 minutes. Okay, so Attorney Easter, tell me, what's the update that you were able to obtain?
Special Agent Staley has not been tested since last Tuesday, which I believe is November 10th.
So, wait, so was he tested on the 10th?
No, he was not tested
Oh, okay.
since his possible exposure.
Okay.
He is a remote work, however.
Well, you know what? Hold on. Let me just ask a few questions here. So, did you ask, do they have policies and procedures at the Attorney General's office?
I did. He is not aware of the protocols because they all work off-site. They all work remotely from home.
Okay, but do they have, if there's a possible exposure at the Attorney General's office, do they have a policy that they follow?
None. If they do, he does not know of any.
Okay,
He did say he let his supervisor know of the potential exposure.
okay,
He has heard nothing back.
okay.
And he has continued to work, so they have not stopped him.
But he works remotely?
Correct.
Okay,
He
all right,
works-
go ahead.
He's continued to work. And I just wanted to make it clear, that's not a confirmed case of COVID. He does not even know if it was there. It's not like he came into somebody who has a confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis. He was just letting me know there was the potential because he had been in the car processing it.
Is that your update?
Correct, no testing.
Okay, wait, so let's go back to what you told me earlier, just so that we have an understanding, and then if need be, we'll contact Summit County Public Health. So you were provided with an update. This agent was in Columbus?
Correct,
Okay, last Tuesday
correct.
at a funeral home.
It was a case.
Hold on, at a funeral home?
I don't know if it was at the, it was a case involving a funeral home. He was processing a card. I don't know if it was at their station where they towed the card to.
Did you say did I hear you say there were cremated remains in the car, or there was a body bag but no body in it?
That is, both of those are correct statements, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, I guess I don't understand.
I didn't want to, it's an open case. I didn't want to put too much on the record.
No, I'm talking about the exposure. Because ultimately, if we don't, I probably am going to have you contact Summit County Public Health or the Attorney General's office. It sounds as if now, based on this additional detail, and Attorney LaPrenzi, I'm sure you have been provided this from Attorney Easter as well. It sounds as if, based on what she just told me, he was not exposed to anyone or any property where there was a confirmed case. It's a vehicle, I think you told me, that either had cremated remains in it or an empty body bag that had COVID-19 on it.
That is, it was both were in there, cremated remains and an empty body bag with COVID-19 on the side.
Okay. But that's all he knows?
Correct.
And he told his supervisor?
That is correct.
Did he tell you when? I'm assuming that day?
Correct.
Okay. And the Attorney General's office hasn't had him subjected to COVID-19 testing?
That is correct. He did not
Okay.
hear anything back from his supervisors, and he's been working.
Okay. All right. What about Agent, who was the next one?
John Saraya.
Yes.
He is here now.
Oh, good. Is he in the same situation as Staley?
I forgot to ask him.
Yeah, let's cover that.
Do you want us to go ahead and make that call to the health department?
No, we'll
Okay.
go ahead with Saraya now, and then
Well-
maybe we'll schedule some other witnesses. And then while we're doing that, perhaps your office can do that. I think it sounds as if it wasn't something as if he was exposed to COVID, but we just want to make sure, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will ask him, but because we're going to do it out of order, we expected that we were going to do Staley. We had no idea about this until just now. I assume we would have a break before Saraya because it would be like around 10:30-ish.
No.
So I need like 5 minutes because we're gonna be using the physical evidence to kind of do that.
That's fine.
I also wanted to ask the court how you wanted me to kind of do that so that we're not back and forth. I guess my plan was to just open it up, see if you could recognize it by me holding it with
That's fair.
gloves,
Mhm.
and then, you know, that way I don't have to pass it to him, I
That'd be
guess.
great.
Is that, and that's
Sure, or you
suitable?
can use the Elmo. Okay,
Well, it's clothing and things of that nature.
okay, sure. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll then call Saraya now, and then Attorney LaPrenzi, are you, real quick,
Yes.
you're going to direct Saraya, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so then Attorney Easter, while Attorney LaPrenzi is doing that, then what I'll have you do is I may have you contact or have you step out and contact your office just so that we have further clarification with Staley. LaPrenzi, now you're going to make certain with Saraya that he's not in the same situation as Staley.
Correct.
And then, who are your witnesses this afternoon?
Well, Dr. Kohler,
Okay, is Dr. Kohler, I think you said is at 1 o'clock?
correct.
Okay, so probably between direct and cross 1 hour?
That's what I anticipated.
Okay. Who else?
And then after that would be Martin Lewis from BCI.
Lewis, okay.
And then based on discussions with Mr. O'Brien, it doesn't look like we're gonna need the other BCI people.
Okay,
And so that would,
Well, Fred Powell, I don't know.
oh, yeah. And then, so then the only other person we had was our phone records guy from Verizon.
okay,
And for some reason, we can't seem to get, he hasn't responded recently.
okay.
So we're trying to find out what's going on
And then you would have
for him.
Detective Hitchings?
Yeah, I think that's,
That would be it?
yeah, but we would have anticipated him tomorrow morning.
That's fair. Okay, okay. Here's what I want you to do right now. You're gonna prepare with Saraya to, how long do you think probably an hour between the two of you? If that?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure Mr. O'Brien's gonna have a whole lot based on my knowledge of what's coming
Okay.
out. It's just more of a, you know, keeping in mind, we're still trying to prove that a murder, aggravated murder
Sure.
happened. And so
That's
it's just
fair.
taking the stuff out, and maybe I can try and get a handle on that
Okay.
in between here.
All right, fine. So you're gonna deal with those Saraya this morning.
Yes.
While you're doing that, Attorney Easter, what you're gonna do is you'll step out, you'll get additional details about Staley if need be. You folks are gonna contact either the AG's office and verify whatever's occurred there, or he can provide additional details. And then you folks are gonna make certain, especially with Lewis, BCI, Kohler, and Powell, if you're able to locate him or talk to him,
Right.
whether there are any concerns about a potential exposure. And then we'll plan on Detective Hitchings tomorrow morning, his testimony, and then Attorney O'Brien, just so you know, you will be prepared potentially to put on your case tomorrow afternoon. If any. Just start thinking about that in terms of scheduling, okay?
Yes, you are.
All right, very good. So I'll have my staff give the jurors an update. Does anybody have a question about what we're gonna do now?
No,
Okay.
I think we got it.
All right, very good. And then remind me with Saraya, are there photographs that are sensitive?
Those are the ones that,
I have.
that she has with Staley.
Okay. All right. So you will have certain photos with Saraya, just so that if you're going
No,
to, if
Staley.
you begin, so not Saraya.
Not Saraya.
Fair enough. Okay, good. All right, I'll tell the jurors, we'll bring them in at 10:30 for Saraya. Very good, thank you.
She's giving me- Enforcement officer in the state of Ohio, did you have to get certified just to do that?
Yes, sir. I'm certified through the Ohio Peace Officer Training Council.
And for short, that would be OPATA.
Yes, sir.
And so, when did you get OPATA certified?
1987?
And have you maintained that certification in good standing until today?
Oh, yes, sir.
So, what year did you move to BCI?
I came to BCI in 1996.
And when you went to BCI, what unit were you in?
I came in and spent the first 12 years in the crime scene unit.
And then, where did you go after that?
From crime scene, I went to our Special Investigations Unit, which is kind of BCI's General Detective Bureau, working other investigations from cold cases to voter fraud to political corruption, whatever comes in.
How long, and what year did you move to that division?
About 2008,
And how long were you there?
up until 2015 when I moved over to our Crimes Against Children's Unit.
And you've been there ever since?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In regards to your crime scene investigation, you already told us what training you had regarding the task force. Did you have any additional training when you went to BCI for crime scene investigation?
Oh, yes, sir. There was evidence tech classes, fingerprinting classes, blood spatter interpretation, advanced crime scene, medical legal investigation of death. There's a variety of classes.
And just so the jury has some concept of how much involvement you've had in crime scene investigation of homicides, approximately how many homicides have you been involved in investigating?
I could comfortably say over 300.
So let me go back and direct your attention to June 21st, 2012. At that time, you were not in the crime scene unit, were you?
No, sir, I was not.
You were in general investigation.
Yes, sir.
However, did you have an occasion to be called to Wayne County, Ohio?
Yes, sir.
Why were you involved or called into that investigation?
At the time, the investigation was complex and had multiple locations, and they needed help. Prior crime scene experience assisted in what was going on. They said, we're working on a search warrant. We have a couple scenes we need help with. Can you come out and lend a hand?
All right. So on that occasion, even though you were in the investigative unit, you were called in as extra help for crime scene processing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just so we're clear, your role at that time was as a crime scene processor. You were not doing any investigation specifically to figure out who done it, right?
No, sir.
Okay. So tell us, when did you first get involved, do you recall?
I have a copy of the report that I wrote at the time. We got down there, if I recall right, it was early evening. We got to the address. We waited because the search warrant had not been signed yet.
Okay.
So myself and another agent, Mark Kohler, were there. We waited. We had been in contact with other agents that were working other crime scenes and were more involved in the case as far as, is there anything we should be looking for? Is there anything you think we need? Is there, just trying to get communication down. It was about 9 o'clock when we got a phone call saying the warrant had been signed and we were good to start looking through the property.
And this was summertime, so the hours were later, the sunlight hours were longer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But it was getting close to getting dark, is that fair?
Yes, sir.
So you said to the scene, do you have, what was the actual location you went to?
The address was 15007 North Mount Eaton Road in Rittman in Wayne County.
During the period of time that you were waiting, was everybody basically just standing outside the front area of the home?
Yes, sir.
And then once you got the go, it was you and Special Agent Kohler that did the processing?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to show you a series of photographs, and I know this might not match up too easily, but just I'm going to do the photographs, and then we'll do the physical evidence separately, just so we're not going back and forth, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to show you what I marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 80. If you would take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes, sir. That's the residence. As a matter of fact, the black vehicle there on the left side is my car.
All right. And of course, can you see Well, let me show you State's Exhibit number 81 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. Moved for a little bit farther down there, closer to the cars, getting a three-quarter view of the house.
And just for the record, does it have the house number on that?
Yes, sir, right there on the front post that you were just pointing to.
All right, so it's 15007, is that what that says?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you said you were on Mount Eaton Road?
Yes, sir.
All right, so in this first picture, just, it shows the front of the house. The second one then shows us back toward the backyard, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so just to kind of keep getting perspective, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 82 now. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. We'd be moving further down the driveway, looking more around the back of the house and into the backyard.
All right, so see this area back here?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And why did you notice that at that time?
With this losing sunlight, we decided to move around the back, the outside of the house first, while we still had light to see what we could find. We started moving back, pushing through the side of the house, photographing everything as we went.
All right. And you had mentioned on your earlier testimony there that you were talking while you were waiting to other agents who were at other scenes that may have additional information to maybe assist you in your search of the house for potential relevant evidence. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Was there anything that you learned from them that you were to look for or that might help in the investigation?
As I recall, we had spoken about possible bindings that were found on the victim's body.
All right. Now, were you aware, who's Ed Staley?
Ed Staley's another crime scene agent. He was one of the lead crime scene investigators for
All
us
right.
in this.
And we actually have taken you a little bit out of order because Ed Staley was investigating another scene. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And he was doing that, had done that a little earlier in the day?
He was more involved in this investigation than I was.
All right. And so that's where you were getting your information about the bindings. He had already been processing the car.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit number 83. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. This is more into the backyard of the residence. The burn pile, that is a chicken coop in the back, and a couple sawhorses with, I believe, a piece of plywood on it that to form a tabletop.
Okay. And of course, as a crime scene individual or expert, the fire pit, just because it's right there in the middle of the picture, is that a concern or something of interest to you as a crime scene expert?
Burn pits are always a point of interest. Historically, it's not unusual in cases for people to try to destroy evidence and burn it.
Okay.
We always take a look at it, see if there's anything visible. If necessary, we get out a couple sifters and we will sift through to see if there's anything there.
All right. And just because it's right there in the middle of the picture staring at us, we'll just get to that right away. Was there anything of significance found by you in that burn pit that day?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 84. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
That's the sawhorses and the improvised table that was shown in the last picture by the chicken coop.
Okay. And was this then of significance to you when you saw this?
It piqued our interest because of the wire ties, those gray objects that are arched across. The backpack was closed up. I believe there was a pair of shoes nearby as well. Something I wouldn't necessarily expect to find just resting in a backyard.
All right, and you said the gray things resting. Are you talking about these?
Yes,
this
sir.
right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 85 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. Again, it's the tabletop. We've taken the time to look at things and put out some number tents to identify items of interest. There's a pair of boots on the ground there. I believe that's a shirt on the ground over on the right side. The backpack, the items that, number 5 is a couple items that are stacked up there. We you really couldn't get a good view of initially.
Okay. So when you see something like this, as a crime scene expert, what do you do? Do you walk up and start rummaging through it, or what do you do?
Now, when we first approach anything, it's just basically hands in pockets. We just take a good look at everything, see what we can see. We photograph everything as we find it before we touch anything.
So this picture number, going back to State's Exhibit number 84, this would be all pictures that I showed you prior to 84 of how you found it before it was altered in any way.
Yes, sir. We didn't touch anything. We walked around it. We looked at it, jotted notes as to what we find, and then photograph it. We would then put on gloves and work together. Okay, what do you see that's of interest? What do I see of interest? What do we want to take a look at first?
All right. It's somewhat of a puzzle because you don't always know what you're looking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now going back to State's Exhibit number 85, this is after you've looked at everything, kind of had an idea of what's there, or at least, you know, an overbroad picture of what's there. And now you put down, you said number tents. Is that these little things here,
Yes, sir.
the yellow things? Okay. And those number tents, just so that in case there is a report of some sort, if I were to look at your report, would number 1 be labeled in that report and say number 1 here matches number 1 in my report?
Yes, sir. The idea with the number tents is to identify an item of evidence. We put them down there. We would look at what the evidence is. We would notate it that item number 1 is. We describe it. And then when we pick up the evidence, we collect it. We would usually mark it as item number 1, try to keep it consistent throughout everything. So item number 1 in the picture is item number 1 in the evidence bag, is evidence item number 1 maybe when it goes to the lab, somehow so we can keep that identification consistent.
All right. Now, when it goes to the lab, if they did a lab report, like for DNA testing, it should try and maintain that same number. Is that fair?
Depending on what, how it comes into the lab,
Right.
the lab might assign other numbers to it. Normally, we would notate though that whatever item the lab says is we put a description on it. It may also note photo ID number 3.
Got it. So if this was just a simple one site crime scene and you had 3 items and you marked them 1 through 3 and they did a lab report on it, that would probably match up with 1 through 3. But you don't have one crime scene here, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And so when you have 3 different crime scenes, the other scenes might be 1, 2, 3, and you're 1, 2, 3, so you'd have to renumber.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
fair? Okay. Just want to make sure so there's no confusion later on. All right, so when you guys, as crime scene experts, and you're the ones who take these photographs, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as you take these photographs, I'm assuming you have some plan in how you do that. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
So we started far away, worked our way toward the item, and keep getting closer and closer, and then I'm assuming that we'll see individual items.
Yes, sir. Items
identified.
of interest as we found them, we try to get close-ups of as well.
Very good. So State's Exhibit number 86, do you recognize this?
Yes, sir. We've moved a little bit closer to the table. You can see the items that we found. Looks like number 4 might be a shirt. Number 8 is a belt. Number 5 are those black items piled up there. There should be a close-up photo later. Number 6 being the backpack. And you can see in the bottom items number 1 and 2 on the ground.
All right. So I'm just going to, because you said it might be a shirt, looking at 4 again, do you recognize what that is?
Okay, that's a sock.
Okay. Now, before you started collecting this stuff, were you able to like visually inspect to see if there was anything on there, such as stains?
We would do a cursory look at them. Anything that might look like a stain, that might possibly be blood or anything else, we would note that there's staining here. I don't know what it is, and we would forward to the crime lab for further analysis.
And because you are, you know, really experts in this field, you can't look at something, even though you're experts in this field, you can't just look at some stain and go, oh, that's clearly blood. You can only make an assumption. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
That has to be scientifically tested in a lab to confirm that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The lab will tell us whether it is blood and whether it's human or animal.
All right. Do you recall, as you were doing your visual inspection, if there was anything, stains on these items that look like based on your training experience, to be blood.
Okay, according to my report, item number 4 in the picture, the socks appeared to have some staining.
Okay?
In item number 5, there is a knife in a sheath, and there's apparent staining on it as well.
All right. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 87 for identification purposes. And can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Okay, this is a close-up. The top portion is a knife above where your pen is right there. That's the knife in the sheath. On the left side, you can see the finger marks for the grip.
Here?
Yes, sir. Below that is a cordura holster with what we would technically call a conductive energy weapon, a stun gun, a taser, something like that.
Okay. And taser is actually a brand.
Taser is a brand name. That's why I refer to them as a conductive energy weapon.
Okay. And then this right here, the gray things.
Those are the wire ties.
All right. And when you say a wire tie, are they made out of wire?
No, they are heavy gauge plastic. Earlier on in the photos, there was a utility truck with a bucket that had I believe it was a cable company name, Cobb Cable Company on the side. So going up on telephone poles, climbing up on houses, doing cabling, you use the cable ties to cinch the wires together.
All right. So you're calling them cable ties. Would these be something that the average citizen would call a zip tie?
That's another name for them, yes, sir.
Okay. And that name comes from when you put the
Put
end.
the tab through the end and you pull it, it makes that zipping sound.
Okay. Did you inspect those to see if there was any blood on those? Or what appeared to be blood?
I believe if anything would have been found on it, we would have noted it.
Okay. This knife that you see here, now I think we have a different picture coming up here. A little bit better. Can you describe in detail, a little bit more detail, what type of knife this was? Folding, fixed blade, tactical, non-tactical, hunting?
This is a fixed blade, a one-piece knife. It doesn't fold. In the sheath, I believe we characterize this as a scuba diving knife.
Okay. And what is this metal point at the end? This, I'm assuming this is the knife end?
That'd be the
Sharp
blade
end?
end down there. As I described, you can see the indentations for the finger to hold on to. And then that silver end would be the pommel, which comes to a point.
And is there a purpose for that point, if you know?
To strike with.
All right. Showing you, maybe this is a little bit of a better picture, State's Exhibit number 88. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. It's a different orientation, but now we're looking at the knife. That pommel, that silver point, is now towards the bottom right corner of the image. That's the handle with the blade. Titanium would be in that sheath that says titanium in the image.
All right. And what is this yellow item right here?
That would be the end of that electrical weapon, the conductive energy weapon.
All right. And was there a name to that, a brand name to that, if you recall?
We pulled it out and looked at it. It was Phaser, and it was spelled Phazzer.
Okay. And just as somewhat of are you familiar with these type devices?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and just in case there's anybody on the jury that may not understand how they work, can you tell us how these electrical devices, first of all, are they weapons?
They're termed as a weapon. I had attended a taser, the brand name, instructor school a number of years ago.
Okay. And so, what's a stun gun?
The idea is 2 electrical probes that put a charge through a muscle group. The idea is we have electricity in our bodies. A stun gun gets in there and makes the muscle contract, or sometimes it'll make it quiver. The idea is with a stun gun is to get the muscles to contract to stop someone's activity.
All right, so once you're quivering or you stopped electrical activity by inducing electricity to the body, is that
Yes.
fair? Then you lose control of your body, so if you're trying to be subdued, you could use that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, is it shaped like a gun, this one?
As I recall, this one did have a bit of a look like that.
So, when you, and we'll get it out here in a second. When you pull the trigger, what happens?
In a taser, well, let me back up. A stun gun, as you described it, the probes are maybe an inch or two apart from each other. So the contact points are relatively close. The idea with a taser brand is to spread the probes apart some and get a bigger cross-section muscles of a body to affect all the muscle groups, a bigger muscle group.
All right, and I guess I want to make sure we're not getting confused here. There's a difference between a stun gun and this thing, isn't there?
Yes, because the yellow on this would be the front end that would open up and barbs would probably come out of this, kind of like a taser weapon.
Okay, so a stun gun would have two probes on the end of it, and you put that against somebody, you don't shoot anything.
Right.
You
A
just
stun
pull the
gun, you have to
trigger.
physically
Okay,
be close enough to touch them.
okay. This here allows you to have distance.
Yes, sir.
And so when you pull the trigger on this yellow are the doors, is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And those doors come open, and what comes out?
This particular brand, I would expect some sort of barb. I don't know for sure with this specific brand.
All right. And would the barb be attached to the gun?
If it is built like a taser brand, there would be two wires that would come back from the barbs to the hand grip. The battery and everything would be in the hand grip, push the power down the wires into the barbs, into the target.
All right. So if the two barbs hit you, then the electricity comes through those wires, through your body, and it's effective.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been tased?
No, sir.
Okay. Sometimes they do tase people sometimes in the trainings?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen people tased?
Oh, yes.
And how many times have you seen that? Have you had to tase anybody?
No. At the time, BCI was looking at possibly going to them for some of our agents. I attended the training session. That class, one guy volunteered to take a hit. We didn't all have to.
All right. And so what happens based on your experience of seeing people tased, what happens?
Normally, ideally, they try to tase people in the back, and it contracts all the muscles. All their muscles flex, and they fall like a tree.
All right. Showing you State's Exhibit number 89 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
I believe those are the camouflage pants that we found there at the scene.
All right. And let me just go back here. Maybe this will help out. So going back and looking at 85 along with 81, does that help you at all?
Yeah, I believe number two there, number one and number two on the bottom picture are our pants, and I believe that's a shirt with it.
And showing you State's Exhibit number 90 for identification purposes. What is that?
Okay, that's the T-shirt. You can see our number two visible. The Cobb Cable Company matching the name on the truck. Kind of in the bottom portion there, you can see a stain. We didn't know exactly what it was. We noted it and collected that. That would go to the lab for further analysis.
All right. And you say noted a stain, meaning that you were suspicious that it might be blood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm not sure, let's see, State's Exhibit number, all right. Since I don't have a close-up picture of number one alone, can you look at your report, or if you remember, tell us what number one in fact was?
Those are pants in what's termed a digital camouflage pattern. We examined them. We did not see any staining. We did note that they were muddy and dirty.
Okay. Showing you what I marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 91. Can you tell us if you recognize that?
Yes, sir. Those are the boots that were laying on the ground right below that table.
All right. And I think here they're marks. This is marked as State's Exhibit number 92 for identification purposes. Tell us, is this the same boots?
Yes, sir. That's the same boots, just a different orientation with their number 3 attached to identify the items.
And were they also dirty in any manner?
Yes, we noted they were dirty. We didn't see anything that appeared any staining visible on those.
All right. And how were they dirty? Was it stained with oils, muds?
There was some dirt and mud on them.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. We did note that there was some staining that appeared on the boots as well.
Did potentially was blood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 93. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir. This is the backpack that was on the table. We've opened it up now just to see what's inside. The yellow that's kind of there in the center of the image is another cartridge for the phaser that was in the holster on the table there nearby.
And what are these two items here?
Those 2 gray containers are camouflage face paint.
Okay. And just in case people don't know what camouflage paint face, is that what you said?
Face paint.
Face paint. Yeah, I got it backwards. Verbally dyslexic. What is that?
You usually see this in the Army movies where the guys put the different colors, the blacks, the greens, and browns on their face to hide their features so they can blend into the background.
All right. I'm going to show you for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 94. You recognize that?
Yes, sir. These are other items that were in the backpack. Starting in the bottom right corner, there's an Army flashlight. As I recall, there was a red lens in there for working at night. There's a roll of duct tape here, moving up a little bit. What we found is black neoprene gloves and a black neoprene face mask. Face mask you usually see with guys hunting, especially in the colder weather.
Is this the neoprene mask right here? With the little air
yes, sir.
holes?
That looks like it with the, there's holes in there for breathing.
Okay.
Just below that are some camouflage-ish gloves there with the, it looks like a brown gauntlet.
Okay. And this black and white right here, what was that? Can you see what that is? Are you looking at the screen or are you looking at
I'm checking my report as well.
So right here, this,
I'm not sure what that is in the image, sir.
okay, let me see if I can't pull that closer. Does that help at all?
Okay, that is a piece of tape off of the roll.
Okay.
It looks like it's been folded over. We're seeing some of the black is the back of the tape, the white facing out is the adhesive side.
All right. All the photographs that I just showed you and that you described for us and recognized, do they all accurately, as best they can, represent the items that were intended to be depicted that day?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I apologize for the tediousness of this next process, but I want to have you identify these individual items. And while I'm doing this, Agent Saraya, you had mentioned the camo backpack and the camo pants. Did they appear to be of similar camo pattern?
Yes, sir.
show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit number 109. Can you recognize that? Maybe
Label is one piece of duct tape removed from hat in backpack.
Okay,
Can you turn that over for me?
sure.
Okay, that looks like another agent. That might be Agent Staley's signature on the seal.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what number was that?
109. And you were there when the backpack was processed?
When we collected it, yes, sir.
Okay, was Agent Staley there?
He may have shown up towards the end.
Okay. So I want you to take a look in there and see exactly what's in there.
Yes, it looks like it's it's on an acetate sheet.
Oh, okay, here, let me pull it out, so you don't have to touch it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
It's the piece of the black tape placed on a clear acetate sheet so it doesn't stick to anything else for collection and submission to the lab.
And this was found from the backpack?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 110 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
One roll of black duct tape removed from backpack, and on the back, okay, that looks like Agent Staley's signature again on the seal.
Okay. And when you guys process the scene, do you usually have one agent that then logs everything?
One of us will take custody of all the evidence.
All right. And so you said earlier that Agent Staley was more involved in this. If he showed up later and you were collecting the evidence, took the photographs, he could be the one that logged it all, but you...
Just for continuity, so there's one lab submission instead of each of us submitting items individually.
All right. Taking a look at,
It's stuck to the inside.
it is stuck to the inside.
Is that the duct tape?
It is the duct tape.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Is Agent Staley going to testify later?
He is next. Well, he was supposed to be before.
Right, I understand. I just want to make sure he's going to testify sometime.
Well,
Is that correct?
may not be, depending on the rulings, but you were there when this duct tape was collected.
Yes, sir.
He only labeled it, but you can recognize it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get that out.
That's fine. Will you stipulate that there's a roll of duct tape in the envelope?
Yes, Your Honor.
There you go. Fair
Take a
enough.
look at that and see that there's,
That looks the same, yes, sir.
okay. Let me show you what I've marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 114. You recognize that?
Okay, this is number 5, which would match the number 10, number 5, knife and electronic conductive device.
Okay. Now, Detective, do you guys use gloves when you deal with evidence like this?
Yes, sir.
And do you change your gloves often?
Frequently, yes.
Why is that?
Prevent cross-contamination. If I pick up something that might have blood or DNA on it, I want to change gloves before I handle another item.
You recognize that?
Yes, sir. That's the dive knife that we found that we talked about in the photographs.
And this knife, you...
Red safety. You probably have to hit that red button on the side there.
for the sake of safety, I probably wasn't gonna leave that in there. And this item here, you said is for,
Striking.
okay, and not necessarily for an individual, but you could strike for breaking windows and things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, police officers sometimes have things with these type on the end to get into vehicles
Yes, sir.
for emergency situations. And this,
That is the electroconductive weapon.
so if I take that out, it's like a gun?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then this is the cartridge that goes on the end?
Yes, sir.
Does that come off?
Yes, sir.
All right. So when it's deployed, these doors open?
Yes, sir. Those
The
come
cartridge
off.
stays behind?
Yes, sir.
And we can see the coils inside, is that fair?
Yes, sir, if I may.
Yep. Okay,
Cartridge comes off, and then the battery and everything else is in this portion here,
okay.
okay?
So it's 114. Your Honor, I'm sorry, I don't know if I mentioned 114, that was the
I
night.
think so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 112. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir. Number one, camo pants that had matched the number one number tent with our evidence label on the top of it.
Okay. And are those the pants that you found at 15007 Mount Eaton Road?
Yes, sir, those look like them.
Excuse me, Brian, what were the camel pants exhibit number?
112.
112.
12.
Two more. Give you guys heads up. We show you case exhibit number 113. You recognize that?
Yes, sir. Number 6, backpack with our evidence label on it.
All right. Now this item has actually
It's been repackaged.
say that again?
It's been repackaged, yes, sir.
Looks like this other package had been opened for testing.
Yes, sir. On the outside of that is a blue label. That would be the lab label with it, with the barcode.
Okay. They don't teach us in law school, you know. So do you recognize this?
Yes, sir, that's the backpack that was on the table.
All right, and there's several other packages inside here.
Appears to be, yes, sir.
All right, and there's a little card here, but that's not necessarily part of the, what was contained in the backpack, correct?
That I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Okay, this is something the lab did
Okay.
and left with it.
Okay, so that was not something you found in this backpack?
No, sir.
All right. So in this backpack, we have multiple different packages. What is that?
It looks like a, okay, we got gloves. Was
And
that a
what,
headband as
describe the
well?
gloves for the record,
Those are Under Armour camouflage gloves.
okay?
Looks like a head covering in camouflage.
Okay,
And I believe that is the black, is it the black neoprene mask?
you tell me,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Covers the lower portion of the face. That's the cartridge for the phaser, the conductive weapon.
Okay. Recognize those?
Okay, we got couple things in there. The gray container, I believe, should be the camouflage face paint on the floor. Black gloves with hardened knuckles.
So let's talk about these gloves. What, you said they're hard knuckles, what is that?
Some sort of covering that goes over the knuckles, protect it, so if you strike something or you're moving around, you don't beat your hands up.
Okay.
Okay, that's the military flashlight with a red lens on it.
And what's the purpose of a red lens, if you know?
When used at nighttime, the red lens doesn't obstruct your night vision.
And what is the last item? In the backpack?
For the face paint.
And does it appear that it had been used, if you can tell?
Judging by the smears at the hinge point, it looks like.
Last one, officer. Showing you what I've marked as State's Exhibit number 111.
Okay. Number 7, zip ties bearing our evidence label locally. The blue is crime lab label.
I'm sorry, what number?
111.
All right, thank you.
And were these the zip ties we saw in the photographs?
Yes, sir. Those were the zip ties that were on the table in the backyard.
And for the record, if you could you just tell me what your best estimate of the length of those zip ties are?
About a yard by the looks of it.
And there's 3, how many of them are there? No, I'll two, wait, one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them.
All right, thank you, that's for the record. So Special Agent Saraya, all these items that I showed you here today, these items appear to be the items that you collected on January 21st, 2012 at 15007 Mount Eaton Road.
Yes, sir.
And you said these were in fact tested by BCI?
They have a lab number on there. They would have been submitted.
Agent Saraya, other than what you testified to here today and your involvement in this processing of the crime scene at that location, did you have any other involvement in this case?
No, sir.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay. One moment, Attorney O'Brien. Desiree, do you mind at the podium? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Desiree. Attorney Bryan, you may proceed. Thank you.
Judge, with the court permits, may I have the freedom to use that table and pick up and demonstrate some of those?
Any objection, Attorney LaPrenzi?
I have no objection to him moving around and using the items.
Okay, thank you.
Depending on the demonstration, though,
Well, hold them up.
Oh, yeah, I have no objection.
Agent Saraya, one of the photos that you identified indicated that there was what appeared to be a bucket truck parked in the driveway, a white one, possibly with the name Cobb cable on the side.
Yes, sir.
Was that truck searched?
It should have been yes, sir.
Oh, well, can it be a little more definite, yes or no? If you know.
I don't have any notes in my report to that regard. We should have gone through it, looking for primarily staining and things as such.
If you had gone through it, would there be a report?
There should be, yes, sir. It should be notated somewhere. I don't have anything listed on my report.
Would Agent Staley possibly have that information?
He may, yes, sir.
All right. In terms of this, to the wrist. With respect to, I'm just going to pick these up, and as I pick them up, I'll identify them. Any which they mark for purpose of identification as
What?
112, the camel pants. Sir, would, these are the camel pants that Mr. Prenzi showed you?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to hold them up to me. Would these be camel pants for a tall person?
Possibly,
Okay. Maybe someone over 6 foot?
possibly.
Okay. I'll fold this up later if you don't mind.
I just don't.
Neatness counts.
Just, you don't put it on each other.
Right.
Change gloves if you change it back.
Okay.
Just put them.
I'm going to pull out the scuba knife out next. Maybe I'll save myself a set of gloves here. With respect to the scuba knife, Agent Saraya, was that tested for fingerprints or DNA?
I wouldn't know, sir.
I'm going to bypass that then.
I didn't bring the boots,
I see.
but I'll stipulate for male size if you want.
Sure. Your Honor, I wanted to address Agent Saraya with respect to the boots that were in one of the photos. And I believe that Mr. LaPrenzi is going to stipulate that those were a man-sized boot.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I didn't see them. Are they here, or you're not? You folks are just stipulating to them?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, fair enough.
Agent Saraya, I think there was a couple of questions about the condition of the boots, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you indicate those boots were dirty,
Yes, sir.
and they possibly had mud on them.
Some dirt, some mud, and some possible staining, yes, sir.
And I don't know if you're an expert with that dirt, could it be field dirt?
I couldn't tell you.
I appreciate that. Okay. The zip ties. Do you know if those zip ties are used in any type of construction business, such as the cable business?
Most likely, yes, sir.
you say also that the boots may have had some stains on them?
Possible, yes, sir.
All right, you didn't test those stains, not yourself.
No, sir.
Do you know if BCI tested those boots?
I would not know, sir.
Okay? The gloves that had the hard knuckles, would you classify those gloves as potential weapons?
With the knuckles like that, they could be used that way, yes, sir.
They're kind of a modern day version of what we used to have as brass knuckles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They could do some damage to someone if you hit them with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were those gloves tested?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. If they would be tested by your organization, BCI, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go back to one of the first things that you identified in the photo, and that's what you call the table on sawhorses.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you identified some clothing. Is that correct, sir?
I believe so, yes, sir.
All right. I think there was a white shirt that said Cobb cable on it.
Yes, sir.
Is that a man's shirt?
I believe it was, sir.
All right. And on that table, did you find, to the best of your knowledge, any women's clothing?
No, sir.
Judge, thank you very much.
Thank you. Attorney LaPrenzi?
I have nothing, Judge. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, thank you, Agent. We appreciate your time here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Desiree. All right. Are you all ready for your next witness, or are we taking our lunch break?
Judge, do you want us to check on that result?
Oh, yes. You know what? On that other issue, that'd be
Yes.
great.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be right
We'll
back.
just wait for one moment. And then if the jurors, if you want to take the time to stretch your legs, and then the prosecutors can give us an update here in just one moment. Very good. Thank you. You know, while they're getting ready to provide us with an update, I did talk to the lawyers earlier. I think it was at our mid-morning recess. And I think the state might be prepared to conclude at some point tomorrow. So just to give you an update with that, I'm pretty certain that's what they said. So that's our schedule, and then I'll be able to give you an update about further details and how we'll plan from there, okay? So we might get to closing arguments maybe sometime Monday, maybe Monday afternoon. So just so that you know that. I think that's probably in accordance with what we talked about this morning, so just to give you that update. And to give you any relevant update that none of you probably care about, my power hopefully will come on by the time I'm home from work. So Sunday through Thursday. So anyway, I think the sun is shining. And so there's that. I have showered, just so you know. I have done that. Where are you going?
Not about 3 feet.
Oh, good, okay. All right, good. We'll just keep this, we like to try to keep things moving. So, stepping out and seeing if they have, if they have an update or if they want to. Thanks.
Judge, we were not able to get through to get the answer.
Oh, okay. So, do you have a witness, or should we recess for lunch?
Well, we have the witness, we don't have the answer to the question, so we don't have anybody else.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Well, then with that, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do is we'll recess for lunch at this time. It is 20 to 12. I would ask that you folks be back at, let me take a look here. So it's 11:40. I'd ask that you be back at 12:45. And then I know the state does have a witness that's prepared to testify at 1 p.m. I think that might be Dr. Kohler, but we'll get an update from the state. And then as I indicated to you just a few minutes ago, I do think at some point the state will rest tomorrow. So with that then, over the lunch break, you're not permitted to discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. You're not permitted to do any independent research. No one's allowed to have contact with you. And again, we really appreciate your patience here this morning, and we'll try to keep things moving this afternoon. So with that, the court's in recess. Thank you.
All rise.
Thanks, Desiree. All right, so, thanks, Christy. All right, so then for now, we'll plan on Dr. Kohler then at 1 p.m. You all have Lewis at BCI. Any concerns with Lewis, or is Lewis in person?
He is in person. I haven't talked to him since we had a break, but he has been working at home.
Okay.
And he's a lab guy.
Okay, so we're fine with him. Hitchings again tomorrow morning. Pal, you're gonna update me. Hopefully we'll hear.
Hopefully.
Okay. And then, where are we at with Staley? Do you want to just do
So
remote
here's-
testimony,
You know,
or?
Here's what I did. Whenever we have an issue with this in the office, usually Brad will call, what's her name?
Skoda. Donna Skoda, yep.
And he talks to her regularly. So
Okay.
what I did was I had Brad get on the phone with Staley, conference called.
Perfect.
And then he couldn't get a hold of her, but I called 3 of his numbers.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if he's on the phone now.
Well,
But
and here's the other thing. It sounds like based on the additional information that Attorney Easter provided, I don't think that it sounds that there was an exposure, but if there's any concern, he can just do remote, or those other photographs, you have Detective Hitchings here who I'm sure would testify to some of those photographs or some of that. I know that you had the prior agent do that too, or I'm not sure where you stand, but
well-
we can either do remote or, but if there's any question, we will do remote. So that way it's not a mystery to you. If anybody has any questions or Skoda can't answer it, or, but I have to imagine they have policies at the AG's office.
yeah.
So, okay?
And then I'm gonna, for some reason I thought I brought over the PowerPoint for Dr. I'm gonna run back, I'll bring it and give it to Kelly or
Perfect.
Tamara.
Okay, even if you want to email it so you don't have to walk back.
It's too big
wanna
for me to
limit,
email.
or just keep in mind, I want to limit the,
I know,
okay.
I
you
think
know
there's,
about that.
I mean, it's an autopsy,
Sure,
but,
as much as we can, yeah.
right, I mean, but I'll let you look at it. I was trying to let Carrie look at it too, but I couldn't find it.
Okay, All right, fair enough. And then, how long do you think, I know that you can't give me an exact, pitching the morning tomorrow with direct and cross, or?
Well, to some degree, I almost think mine would be maybe an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. So at the end of the day today, Attorney O'Brien, we can talk further about your,
And that was just me, I'm sorry.
no, I know.
Oh, okay.
Attorney O'Brien seems to be moving efficiently through witnesses. I'm just thinking about tomorrow's schedule. So I would say that you be prepared at 1, but depending on how we go, you may begin your case earlier than that. If you present, obviously, I don't know what your intention is. I'm not asking for that at this time, but I just want you to be prepared.
Right. Well, I've been listening to the court,
Yeah.
and
And you just seem to be moving through witnesses.
my first witness, I told him last weekend that he could be called on Friday or Monday.
Okay,
I told him that.
all right.
I will contact him during the lunch hour
That would be great.
and tell him to be ready late morning
Fair,
tomorrow.
fair enough. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, good. I'm just trying to plan things out. Very good.
Judge, can we just about count on then closing argument not until Monday?
I guess it depends on the schedule. I mean, it sounds like you folks are gonna have, we're at least gonna hear testimony through tomorrow afternoon.
Yes,
or
Your Honor.
through midday tomorrow.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I would think your preference would be to take the weekend to plan for closing.
I believe
Right.
Ms. Easter and Mr. LaPrenza would join me in that.
Is it?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, yeah,
I want to do it tomorrow.
okay,
No, I'm
yeah.
just joking.
I mean, listen, the more information I have,
Un-
the more information I can give you, right?
un-
Okay,
Understand.
thanks.
Look for what? Yeah, back to the office.
I don't know.
Wasn't it on my desk before?